So we have the segment. Now we have the segment on ivermectin and
yes, we do.
COVID
Thank
numbers.
you. Joe Rogan, as you know, recently set the world ablaze by talking about ivermectin after he was diagnosed with COVID.
I got up in the morning, got tested, and turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone. Everything.
So Joe Rogan freaked people out.
Well, he did, and now the media wants you to believe that ivermectin is just veterinary medicine intended for livestock.
Right.
On top of everything else, the FDA has to warn people not to take livestock dewormer.
Doctors say Oklahomans are using the cow deworming medicine ivermectin to treat or prevent COVID-19.
For those who may not know, the main ingredient of horse wormer is ivermectin. Ivermectin has gotten a lot of attention lately as people try to push some other means of COVID protection and treatment.
This is something that really bothers me, okay? As an alternative treatment, an alternative to what? When people are talking, again, we're not giving any medical advice. When people say as an alternative treatment, what treatment do they give you right now for COVID? I'm not talking about a vaccine, which people obviously should make that decision between them and their prescribing physician. Yeah. Of course, everyone should have the right and decision to control their own body and what they put in their own body. What treatment, though, if you already have COVID? If you go to the hospital now, they say, go home and take Tylenol, come back in, and they toss you on a ventilator. In other words, let's say ivermectin were used, which it has been in some other countries. We cannot argue whether it's been used effectively or not because that's not allowed on YouTube. However,
I think we could say Joe Rogan did effectively use it, though, or at least in his opinion.
Along with the monoclonal,
monoclonal and the vitamin
antibodies.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, but 3 days later, he tested negative. But the point is, they say, as an alternative treatment, let's say you used ivermectin. Let's say you used hydroxychloroquine. Let's say you used whatever it could be, vitamin C, Kashtanga root, take your pick. It would be in lieu of what treatment given to you at the hospital? None. They don't give you any right now. They say Tylenol, come back, and they toss you on a ventilator. There are no treatments.
So things are clearly bad, but they're being made even worse by people who have refused to take the vaccine and instead are swallowing horse paste.
What would you tell someone who is considering taking that drug?
Oh, God.
Don't do it. There's no evidence whatsoever that works, and it could potentially have toxicity, as you've just mentioned, with people who have gone to poison control centers because they've taken the drug at a ridiculous dose and wind up getting sick. There's no clinical evidence that indicates that this works.
Anyone who calls it horse dewormer, any reporter, is guilty of journalistic malpractice.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what I love is the people online who are just like, horse dewormer, and then they snort ketamine. Well, ivermectin is for humans. It is an anti-parasitic medicine with an over 30-year history in treating humans.
Yeah.
The Nobel Prize in Physiology of Medicine was awarded to, and I want to make sure I'm saying this right, Satoshi Amura and William Campbell, who discovered it in 1975. What's a fun way of saying the white guy took it? We'll both take the prize. Thank you.
Yeah, Satoshi's. Let me hang on to it for a second.
Yeah. Oh, you discovered this? Me too. And it's so effective and with such an incredible safety profile. It has been on the WHO's list of essential medicines for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And that is the World Health Organization.
Yeah, World Health Organization.
Not Pete Townsend.
Not the band.
It's used in veterinary medicine. There are tons of drugs that are used in veterinary medicine. For example, when I had...
ketamine.
Yeah, ketamine. They used ketamine to put me out for my surgery. So ketamine...
It's got a hemp necklace.
Pepsid, Prilosec, Benadryl, Gabapen was something we had to use with our dogs. Anti-anxiety medication. Like Xanax. Yeah, there are all kinds of medications that are used in humans and animals. And if you look at ivermectin, it has been prescribed to... How many people... have been prescribed ivermectin? I think
millions of people have been prescribed it for infections.
Of millions.
There's all kinds of infections you can get. Well, there's river blindness, which is AKA eyeball worms, thread worms, which is AKA elephantitis.
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
Scabies, the one that your dad warned you about, those girls with the scabie.
Yes.
Who is diagnosing all of these? Is it Davy Jones the pirate? He's like, you probably got eyeball worms from the river blindness.
Some people are saying, oh, it's anti-parasitic. It's not. Well, there are plenty of anti-parasitic medications that have antiviral properties, and I don't have time to get into the difference between antiseptic, antibacterial, antiviral, antiparasitic, but there is absolute crossover depending on how it affects the cell membrane, the lipid layer. So it's not unheard of at all for medications to be used off-label. And this has been over 250 million people, I think, is a number annually.
Oh, yeah, that is right. That's the actual number. 250 million people. A quarter billion, if you will.
Annually. By the way, we're not making any medical claims.
No. We have merely made an observation that various countries are researching ivermectin as a treatment and prevention against COVID. That's it.
Yeah.
Research.
And I know, and I can hear some people now, and Gerald, because your wife is a nurse, you know, like people make something go, well, actually, the maker of ivermectin, is it Merck?
Merck.
They say
Short for Merkin.
Yeah. They say it doesn't work for COVID. Well, here's the thing. Sure, they're the maker. Their patent expired in 1996, so you can get a $2 generic pill. And they were just granted $350-something million to create their own COVID vaccine. Again, all references available at the website, ladderbetter.com, link in the description. 300, you know what? Hey, drug, how much money can you make off Merck? Merck, how much money can you make off of ivermectin?
None.
$350 million for a vaccine and then a multi-billion-dollar government contract makes a little more sense than something less profitable than aspirin.
Well, I love how all of a sudden the clinical trials and data over several years matters.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that's a very important thing. And by the way, in that Merck release, they actually said at the current dosages that we were studying and with the population. So they had some qualifiers there so that they could cover themselves just a little bit.
Right.
It was so easy to find, too. That's what bothers me the most, where you can just see, oh, this isn't profitable.
Yeah.
Right.
It was that simple.
Well, because that's the attack that the left has always used. If you were saying, for example, there is no one
before
could
they
possibly,
became the voice of Big Pharma?
Yeah, before they became the voice of Big Pharma, there can be no vested interest in something like ivermectin and something like hydroxychloroquine. We know that there obviously is. I mean, what a brilliant business model right now when we're talking about the vaccine. And I'm not even attributing any nefarious motives here at all. If you want to take the Trump vaccine, you can thank Donald Trump for it. You can take the Trump vaccine. But what a brilliant business model to create a vaccine and then God knows what's going to happen with the variant, because there are variants with all kinds of coronaviruses that have existed since the beginning, since the inception of coronaviruses. And now, because of a variant, you need another booster. And of course, there will be another variant, and you're going to need another booster. You basically so once you join that circus, you better stick along for the ride for the rest of your life, because they didn't tell you that. And there are a lot of people right now. Look, you want to solve vaccine hesitancy? Then you need to be straightforward about it and tell people we are just going to demand never-ending boosters as soon as there's a variant that comes out. And we know that coronaviruses mutate, and it's very likely you'll be having to do them, not even like a flu shot every year. Right now, what are they talking about? After 4 months?
They're
perhaps
very short. Twice a year.
Perhaps they could say it's a rushed vaccine, maybe. I'm not trying to say
perhaps some people.
Maybe it doesn't.
Well, but in Ireland, in Israel right now, totally different countries, by the way.
Yeah.
Different accents.
Very different people. One of them drinks heavy.
They were, I'll leave that to you to find out. They were.
I did.
They were saying that, you have to have 2 vaccine shots to be able to go out and have a vaccine passport and do stuff.
Yeah.
And now they're saying if you don't have the 3rd, you're treated as essentially unvaccinated. Like if you don't have the booster, you are now back to being unvaccinated. And so the goalpost just keeps moving in these things. So don't think we're like conspiracy theorists here. We're like, this is happening real time in other countries.
Yeah, well, and what bothers me is, at least as per the CDC, it's actually being given to refugees from all Middle Eastern.
It's about ivermectin.
Yeah, ivermectin.
Yeah, ivermectin is being given to all refugees, I believe, from the Middle East,
Asian, North Africa,
Latin American, Caribbean countries, not for COVID. So just in case the overlords at big tech, we're not saying that they're giving it to them for COVID. We're saying that they're giving it to them for parasites that are often brought in. And we're not saying that refugees are parasites. We're not even saying that we're not even saying that they are parasite riddled. We are just saying that the CDC recommends all of these mass hysteria refugees
by the way,
be given ivermectin.
Lily just sent in that Merck is launching new trials of oral COVID-19 drugs.
Oh,
look at that.
It's going to be ivermectin with a time-release coating.
It is. No, it's Timavectin. It's totally different.
It's Timavectin in a gel cap.
Oh, look, it turns out we had the cure laying around. Who knew? It's the same as the media, how we're not saying, again, take it. We're just saying that calling it horse dewormer is not true.
It's a lie.
about Joe is, he took it. Everybody, all of a sudden you get half of the country, not half the country, but a good portion of people basically wishing death on him because they're so progressive.
Yeah.
And then he beats it in 3 days.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.